the history of the cave here. So, this cave was discovered in 1886 by a man named Charles Christopher and his friend John Eaton. So, Charles Christopher had already kind of known there was a cave nearby. He had seen several smaller holes that were just pockets, and they were blocking the way into the cave because there's the wall outside. We could hear water behind it. So, him and his friends, John Eaton, had a really good idea. This is the best friend. All good stories start with the best friends had a good idea. And they had a boat, and that spot where the Lost River flows underneath the bluff, they had waited for a drought to happen, and there was enough space between the bluff and the water to fit a boat in. So they laid it down in this boat, and they just started like pushing it under. And everything was going great until the boat got stuck. So then they had an even more brilliant idea. Let's put our hands against the ceiling and push the boat underwater and crab walk into the cave. So they did this, and luckily they only got a small portion of water into the boat. But they popped out on the other side, and being the prepared men they were, they only had one lantern. And they explored the cave as far as they could, and that's when they decided that they had to have the cave. So they both purchased portions of the land above it and dug out a boat dock where they explored into the cave. So then they give boat tours from that section, and you can still see that on our blue Heron Trail. It's gated off, but it's the original boat dock. So they did tours for a while until they decided that it wasn't very profitable. So the business was not
It's because of the water.
So they ended up selling the land. And it didn't really pick up again until the Lesterville and Lyman Riley got their hands on it. And they had been doing the Merrimack Valley store for a while at that point. But it wouldn't be until the 1980s that the state would be able to purchase it from them. Do you guys have any questions?
How deep is like the deepest point, do you think?
Deepest point in the cave?
Yeah.
It's 185 feet below the surface.
Wow.
We're going to actually get to that point, but for now we're going to explore what is known as the big room. But to get there, we have to go into this rock here. It's known as the head knocker. Can you go putting your head behind on it?
This one you guys will actually have to duck on.
Yeah, probably.
Carter may not.
But still, Carter, I'd still duck your head a little bit. I might.
It's weird being the tallest one. Just saying.
I need the shorter ones to walk faster.
Ollie, I have short legs. I have short legs.
I'm so close to other people though.
And it's steep. Oh, yeah, Carter won't have to. No, I won't. See? No.
I don't think I needed to.
Me either.
Like,
Oh, you're close.
I was leaning back.
Wow. Look how beautiful it is. Look, it looks like it's covered in water. Rachel, come on. It's the twins. Look, it's the twins. Yeah.
Alright, so this room, they just couldn't think of a more creative name for it besides the big room. It's so large it can fit a high school football field with bleachers inside of it. That's how large it is. And if you look on the ceiling, there's a line of stalactites that go all the way down this room. That's known as the lifeline of the cave. And that's because it's one of the first cracks that allowed that water to dissolve out the limestone. very large stalagmites. One of them is dormant. That's what we call a deposit that is not actively growing. There's no dripping going on. So what happens is the surface of it will dry where that water used to be and change to the color of other.
Look, it's still dripping.
Orange is iron, the gray is black,
Still dripping.
and the white is calcium.
Oh, there's a
Now
third
the
one.
larva twin is extremely active. Let me just shine my light here for you guys. So this is pretty typical for this, and it will just get even faster.
Did you see the third one? No.
And what happens is that surface calcite is just a shining white, and it'll be that way until it goes dormant. So it'll just stay this really pretty white color. That's how you can easily tell apart what areas are active by the shiny white color.
Is there a possibility that a dormant can become reactive if the water was to shift over and start it over time?
Yeah, that's pretty typical. We have areas of the cave that go dormant during the summer season and then become active again as soon as spring hits.
So how long has that one been dormant?
Very, very long time. There's even pictures with Charles Christopher in 1886 where it was dormant. So it's likely that the water that was dripping on it actually got directed to the stalactite that's dripping on the active one. So we can see that the stalactite is significantly smaller than the stalagmite, and that's because that calcite can't stick if the water's dripping really fast.
Right.
So drip rate plays a big role in what shape these take. So when it's dripping this fast, that calcite gets pushed to the more middle part of the stalagmite and makes it wider instead of taller, and it'll create these little rimstone dams that we see at the base. Now, if it were to slow down, that's when we see that stalactite start to grow, and the stalagmite would get smaller. Now, a good place to see lots of
Third one.
colorations is actually on this wall up
Right
here.
there. Third
You
one.
can see all those different
1, 2, 3.
colors from the orange, from the iron, black, manganese.
Actually 5, 6. No, there's 3.
You guys have any questions? Do you guys want to take pictures or anything? Our next spot, which is King's Canopy. We will come back to this room later on.
Not for a while.
Well, look at that big white thing. Let's go. There's people all the way back at the twins. This looks like a mouth. Doesn't it kind of look like a mouth? Is your light better than mine?
Mine's not on.
Oh. Carter, this is called the King Canopy. What? Ow.
So this is King's Canopy. It's a dormant limestone deposit. It's our second largest one in the cave. And as you can see, it's just a huge shelf of calcite. There's actually no columns underneath it. It's just a big wall of calcite that's hanging
Lots of iron deposits.
That's what I kind of thought. That's what I kind of thought. Julian said I'm worth the computer
walking.
because of all the golden iron in my body. Oh, it's so thin. Julian said I'm worth the computer because of all the golden iron in my body. This reminds me, this a little bit reminds me of, what was it? Grand Canyon, or whatever. Oh, not the Grand Canyon, I've never been there. I meant to say where the, we'll be fine. Oh God. What is it deep? Oh, there you go. I'm gonna just act like I did not just see that. I'm gonna act like I did not just see that.
This is a dome pit. It goes down 40 feet. You can actually see it if you were to walk underneath the Canopy. You can see up into it. Above this area, these are called cave curtains. Some people also like to call them cave bacon because they look like pig ears.
Yeah. They do.
Oh, that's the thing that we watched the movie on. That.
So we're going to walk down on this side, but this big hill is just slumping down because of all the water that came from these giant stalactites.
Whoa, look at all the
So
mist.
it's slowly washed downward to the bottom of the Canopy down there.
What about this guy?
So
It won't. Okay, guys, don't touch anything.
How perfectly, like, construction, too. Building off
Look, it's a
so
color.
pretty. Good job.
Oh, watch out for the water droplets.
So these are actually some bones of a juvenile buck. Oh wow, yeah. So there's actually two of them. There's one here and there's another set right here.
I want to be able to see them.
So we're looking at some black bear bones. They're in these boxes. There's one down there. You guys have a flashlight. You can look at that one. I'm going to shine light in this one. So it's not that they got in here from your high
See 'em.
school, but it's unlikely that they got in here, that they just come into the caves out of curiosity. It's more likely that they were washed in here, or the bones themselves were washed down here.
Oh, we have to kind of wait.
So we're getting pretty close to the surface. We're about to see the cave change a little bit. Because the closer you are to the surface, the older the portion of the cave, the more deposits you're going to see. So we're about 40 to 50 feet below the surface. And if you look at the walls here, this is all just a wall of that deposit.
I wish I had a stronger flashlight on my phone. Ooh, careful. I want to see. Oh, I can see the paw. mini pond. Yeah, this is. It's not letting me use my flash.
So if you walk down here, you're going to notice that there's separation in these columns all along the wall. There's a bunch as well behind them that are also separated, and that goes through into the next room. So what's happening here is that they were forming on top of a ton of clay, and as they grew larger, they sank. And so they separated from that top portion, wherever was the weakest point is where they separated. So that column down there, that's why it's separated lower to the ground. That's probably where the weakest point was. It does look strange. So we're going to head through this room, and then we're going to make a loop in it and come back out this way. Watch your heads. We're going to get a flow on the right.
I know, it's so cute. I was about to say cute. I meant to say pretty. Big ear.
Don't touch you. Are you with him? Okay. Yeah.
The little piece of parts of the Queen's Canopy. I don't know.
Looking at my phone and keep seeing the one o'clock.
So because the closer to the surface we are, the older the portion of the cave, they call this room the Rock of Ages room. They think that the columns we see, especially the ones right here, are some of the oldest in the cave. And to give you an idea, the youngest part would probably be near the Rock of Ages room. So they decided to radioisotope test
The youngest.
and they're only half a million years old. So these would be older than that. The other interesting thing in this room is against this wall here is a weird deposit. This is called a cave shield, although I like to call it a cave pedestal. But it's from calcite being misted because the water is squeezing pressure through a tiny crack. And so it builds a very fine layer of calcite to form a shield.
We might have to duck. But I kinda doubt it. How do some people call me directly 4 foot and I'm almost as tall as you?
Because I'm barely 5 foot.
But they say I'm 4 feet directly.
No, you have to be more than that.
Exactly.
Yeah, like the water. I mean, the bottom of my pants are already soaked, so what's a little more, right?
You made fun of me for wearing shorts.
I did not make fun of you. I suggested your legs might get cold.
Are you cold?
No?
I can't even catch up. How long have we even been in here?
For an hour?
We've been in here for about an hour. Did we pass the face already? I don't know. That thing was What are you doing?
Well, I thought it was a geode catch, but I think it's a first aid kit.
I'm cold. Someone else will move. You told me to go faster. You told me to go faster, so I'm going faster.
Alright, so you guys go down to this ramp here. You can either stay on the left side of it, or you can walk in between the two houses closets. Feel free to touch.
So beautiful. Rachel, what I found up there.
That looks like the Batman symbol.
Look, that one looks like it's pointing directly up. Like this.
The shadow right here. So kind of.
Yeah.
Not quite. Close. It would be, but
So perfect.
it's so close from having it.
It's so big.
Isn't it cool?
Alright, so we are now at the bottom of the Slump Pit. These two stalagmites were actually once on top of the hill we walked down from. And because of all the water that washed, I showed you guys it washed stuff downward, these was sliding down with it. So they were held on by that clay, but once it got soaked enough with that water, they just started sliding down here. The one closest to me actually grew as it moved down the hill, so it moved much slower as it came down to where it is.
Is it still moving or?
No, it's not moved for a very long time. Seems to be kind of stuck where it's at. So, we're now going to go down a little further. Once we get to the bottom of this area down here, we'll be in the deepest portion of the cave, which is again 185 feet below the surface.
Yeah, I do not want to sleep people on the deepest.
Yeah.
I'm scared. Why are you scared?
Tour is almost done, dude.
Like an
And
hour.
a half tour, and we've been on it for over an hour. Yep.
below King's Canopy. This is King's Canopy. Where did Rachel go? Oh,
Right there.
This is right below King's Canopy. It's cool.
Let's try to get a picture again.
Okay.
Oh, you just want to have fun. You're a picture.
Sorry.
Why are you This is what I'm getting.
Yeah.
If you guys look behind you, this is a dormant dome pit right here. You can see just how large they can get. So what happens is, let me sneak past some of you guys. I'll try to point out. At the very top, there will be a spot where water's coming, and the water's flowing down the sides of it. So it's flowing from side to side, creating a dome. Yeah. That's why in the active one, there was a stalactite coming from the center of where the hole was.
So does this stalactite just like eventually fall, like right down here?
It may have never had one. If the water flowed fast enough, it probably would have been over the sheets. Alright. So watch your head right here. We're walking back beside the Lost River.
We lost Mom and Carter. I know where they are though. Whoa, look at that. It goes so far.
So this area is usually a good spot to look for crayfish, but as you can tell, this is a lot more like murky than that first area. So that's from the backwater from the American. It's pushing that water into here, and this is the area that typically has the most murky part, so you can really tell we got a lot of rain. This part is kind of a weird color. What's the temperature? It's about 50 degrees usually.
It's so tight.
So these are actually movements because that means it's going to bring in a lot of nutrients for the critters that live in the water. There's a lot of crayfish and small isopods.
What?
Look at all the shiny.
Yeah. What is that? If it's not a bug, then I think I know what it is. The soda sauce.
There's fossilized blue-green algae. There's a bigger one over here. And they would have been living in the ocean that covered Missouri over 500 million years ago.
And this is 600 million. Yeah. I thought she just said algorithm.
Mm-hmm.
We have to find a way to catch up to them.
It's okay. We won't lose them.
Nope. They might lose us, but we won't lose them. I feel like some people would go up there. It's like it's open. Oh, sorry. It's my fault.
I know it's hard for me to yell loud enough for you to hear me. limestone deposit in the cave. She's 45 feet tall, and as you can see from that white, she's very active. We're going to get up close and take a look at that. So, back in the day when Charles Christopher sold his land, this cave briefly ended up in the hands of a mining company who thought that they could use the calcite as a substitute for marble. They thought if they polished it enough that it would be a cheap substitute. But what happens to calcite? Does anybody know what happens to it when you put it in dry air? Yeah. Crumbles and it changes color. It doesn't keep that pretty color to it. So they didn't know this, and they decided they took a small sample from Queen's Canopy that now you can't even see that spot today because she grew over it. But they took it, and when they tested, they're like, well, we can't use this. But their original plan was to cut holes in the ceiling and take out every deposit.
What?
That was their original plan. So luckily, they sent it for testing first. Because some caves, like some of the caves in Bourbon, they actually just mine them before even thinking about it. That's terrible. Yeah. So luckily this cave was spared, but yeah, it's pretty amazing that they took a 5x8 slab and she grew right over that. Alright, so we're going to get up this ramp and do come back down this way, so if I warn you out, you can wait for these benches. However, the lily pad room is up here.
Oh, I've been waiting for that room.
Did she ever explain the characters?
We were in the room. She across the old staircases. I think those might be it.
Those are the
Oh,
the stairs. Yeah.
oh. Those are the old stairs. Whoa. What?
This whole thing right here.
Yeah.
I know. Down there is filled with it. Carter, don't walk on that. I did.
We're getting our cardio in today, guys.
Well, it looks like crystal. Am I the only one that slightly noticed that? It looks like a geode.
It does. It might be. Geodes get big. In Brazil, they have entire caves of geodes.
I know. I want to go there.
Me too.
Like, imagine how beautiful it'd be. Whoa. Big structures.
Boarding fan things, like decorations, like when you start to pull it out.
Yes, that's exactly what it looks like.
Alright, we made it. Woo! Yeah, let's all make a big noise. Woo! Woo! Yeah, we did it. Alright, so up here we're about 20 degrees below the surface. That's why we're going to see everything that's meant to go. Just look at this wall. Everything's blended into each other because of how much water comes in. So if you look over here, there's a small spill pool. We're going to see a bunch of these up here. And this area used to have water flowing in it. Typically has that during the spring. We get tons of rain all the time. And it creates these little dams from the calcite being pushed up against that. They kind of look like ramen noodles if you're hungry. So I suggest not looking at them too hard. On this side, this is known as the Wall of Jericho. And it's fascinating because pieces of it are hollow. And that's because the water hit it with so much force while it was building up that it drilled little holes into it. They found this out because one of the builders, they tell the story that he hit it with a small piece of wire and it caused it to ring out. That's how they found out that pieces of it are hollow. So Lesterville used to have tour guides play it like a xylophone with little wooden mallets. We don't do that anymore because calcite is at the level 3 on hardness. If you have really strong fingernails, you can scratch it. So we don't do that anymore, but it's pretty fascinating because Mother Nature made its own useful instrument. We got some beautiful pig ears up here. Just where that lifeline led up to. So the last two rooms are the lily pad room and the candlestick room. And they're both
I want to see the candle. And
you guys are not allowed them up here, and that's great because still pools are how we get those lily pads. So what happens is they build up a ton of minerals from the ceiling, because that's where that water's coming from. And at some point they can't mix anymore, so instead that calcite makes little rafts on the surface of the water, and those build up to form those plates. So that's what we're seeing. If the rafts are close enough to the wall or to the walkway, they'll stick to anything. So you'll see lily pads built up along the walkways, along the walls. We're going to
lily pad candle room. Lily pad candle room. Candle room. Right there. Oh. Whoa. Scary. Look at the floor that we're walking on, Rachel.
I know. It's marble.
Look, it's almost a column. Almost.
So right past the lily pad room is the candlestick room. I'll call this very
Again. There's not as many lily pads as I expected. Whoa.
Alright, as you walk down through this area, you'll see little bubbles of calcite that is known as cave coral.
Whoa.
Super cool. Whoop. Sorry, sis. I really stopped.
I was looking at stuff. These are cool.
Right?
Other people.
Okay, keep going.
I'm waiting for Waito.
This is the
I'm not gonna drop my phone. I'm just surprised. Whoop. I don't know if we're allowed to touch it. We're on the
Walks in this room. He thought he was picturing holding the whole earth up. He's the cutest. He's the cutest. He couldn't grasp it. Yeah.